this video and my channel. My name is Heather. I'm the owner and creator here at Wicked Whiskey Designs, and today we are doing color swirls. What? Absolutely love how this came out. This was so much easier than I ever thought it was. I have to be totally honest about that. I've seen so many people do this kind of tumbler, this style of design, and I honestly thought this was going to be very complex and very complicated, and it honestly really isn't. So I'm going to show you everything you need to be able to make this cup as easy and as perfect as possible the first time around. If you're new to the channel, please consider liking and subscribing. This is still a relatively new channel. I do try to put out a couple of videos a week, but you definitely want to get notified of when those videos drop, because sometimes my schedule doesn't, work the way I want it to. So definitely like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Don't forget to look down below in the description box. All of the products that I use to make this cup are listed down below. So if you want to make this exact design, these exact colors, everything you need is down below. And there's probably a coupon code or two down there too to help you save just a little bit of money. Don't forget to also check out at the end of this video my tips and tricks section. That's where I share with you all of the tips and tricks I learned along the way so that you don't run into any pitfalls when it comes to making this cup like I normally do. So I kind of do the heavy lifting for you on that one. Anyway, that pretty much wraps up this intro. I'm going to go ahead and get started, show you everything you need to make this cup. Let's go have some fun. Hey guys, so what are we working on this week? Well, right now, it's like 7:30 on a Monday morning. We're working on coffee. That's what we're working on. Okay, so what we're going to do is this. Okay, first of all, let me go ahead and throw this disclaimer out there. We are going to be getting monsoon type rains all week long. So I want to apologize in advance if the lighting is completely wonky on this next tutorial or next two tutorials. If the garage door has to be closed or whatnot. They are predicting where I'm at that we're going to get upwards of like 10 inches of rain this week. So I already woke up to literal monsoon rains this morning. The dogs, of course, are going nuts because you got the ones that don't want to go out, you got the ones that want to go just play. We've already done all that. I should have like a rain barrel already. I don't. I'm a slacker, so I already woke up and like emptied out a big plastic bin. I've got that sitting outside to collect rainwater. If you think watering Venus flytraps is an easy feat, it's not, because they're special. They need purified water. So, that gets a little pricey, especially in summertime. So I am out there. I am ready for this. Give me all the rainwater. I've got a big, huge thing, a big, huge tote. I've got the little extender from the gutter. I am ready to go. And for the younger set, this is what over 40 looks like. Excitement over free rainwater. Gardening. That's where after 40 goes. Bars and partying, no. Rainwater. That's where I'm at this point, but I'll take it. Anyway, so again, I apologize for the lighting if it gets a little dark or dingy or dim or however you want to say it this week, but that's the reason why. Okay, so what we're working on this week is this. I know we've all seen them. They're beautiful. The cups where they have like the vinyl and then they got like swirls, all the different glitters, and they're lined and they're beautiful. We're going to work on one of those this week. I have been wanting to do one for so long. I will say this, even though we do know I have like 1,800, I feel like 1,800 vinyl pieces sitting upstairs, I think we're going to try one. I think we're going to try one with printable vinyl. I'm a little nervous about that, but I think we'll be fine. There's so many file designs on Etsy that are just sick. They're just amazing. And there's one I just fell in love with. So we are going to go ahead. We're going to print our design out on printable vinyl. We are going to pattern cut it so that the little swirls are cut. We're going to lay down our vinyl. We're going to, do a little paint glitter action on the swirls. We're going to line them. It's going to be amazing, she says. It is. It's going to be awesome. I'm excited. I'm nervous, but I'm excited. So anyway, that's what we're working on this week. Let's go ahead and get started. And you know what? Just a little mini public service announcement. I had a viewer tell me how I ramble so much. I do. I know I do. I'm sorry. That comment came after a particularly bad day. I was having a really, really bad day, so that kind of hit me a certain way. I know that I'm not like other content creators. I walk you through all these steps. I walk you through the failures. I walk you through the decision trees. I walk you through why this is why I think it might work and then why it won't. You know, I know these get a little bit long and drawn out, and I do apologize, and I will try to be better. But just a little gentle reminder that, like, you know, there's a billion people doing, you know, tutorials here on YouTube. If I am not your girl, sis, I am okay. I'm all right with that, and I want you to be okay with that too. Doesn't mean we can't still be friends, but I totally get it if we're not, you know, we're not on the same vibe. That's okay. Just, you know, content creators are people too. Maybe we don't always need to hear how bad we're doing, but like I said, I'll try to do a little bit better. And this is where all of the hopes and dreams I had for the day were quickly dashed. Obviously, printable vinyl is not the way to go since you cannot have transfer tape to add the entire thing to your cup. So all of those little pieces that are cut are just simply willy-nilly a mess. So definitely don't use printable vinyl. Okay, well, that didn't work. There's a reason why you don't use printable vinyl for this kind of a project. I thought maybe I could make it work, but no, you definitely can't. If you can, then you are, you know, blessed by the gods. But myself, big old colossal mess. Moving on to where we're supposed to be, which is actual vinyl. So I have, I have a couple. I had to laugh. This pretty much sums up my personality perfectly. I am leaning towards doing this one. I think this would be really pretty. I think this would be really pretty. This would be ridiculous. But I do so many like rainbow kind of things on this channel that kind of given my mood today, I feel like this is a much more accurate representation of how my week is going. So I think we're going to try this. I'm going to go ahead, run this through my silhouette, cut out my pattern, and we will reconvene shortly. Okay, so we are cut and ready to go. A couple of things before we start. Number one, do not forget to measure the dimensions of your cup. Obviously, top to bottom you want to measure, but you also want to measure your circumference around. And what basically I do is, like some random piece of vinyl or string or whatever, simply wrap it around. Get your, you know, a generous cut there. Like, don't go straight up to the, you know, straight up to the edge there. Give yourself a little bit extra, and then I will take this and just lay this out on my cut mat so I can measure exactly, you know, how long I need to make this. Now, another thing to keep in mind for this particular project, we're using, you know, a pattern here. Okay, the pattern goes in a direction. Do not be like me. And like, my first inclination as I'm loading this into my cutting machine is to load it in like this. Well, my pattern on my design space is like this. So, you know, so that I can get the length I need. So keep that in mind. When you are loading in your vinyl to your cutting machine, make sure that you are running it in the same direction that your pattern is laid out. Because if I had run it like this, oopsie, sorry. If I had run it like I normally would, just not thinking, your pattern, instead of going like this, my pattern would be going like this. So just kind of keep that in mind. Okay, so for this particular pattern, there was like one or two more swoops. I didn't want those. I wanted just this little section because I knew that I wanted my pattern to be more prominent than, you know, a bunch of glitter swirls. So I, in my design space, removed 2 of these lines. If you decide to do something similar, keep in mind that you want to go through and kind of use your craft knife. Make sure that all of your cuts are tight so that you don't have any, when you're rolling this, you think you're going to pull up and it doesn't pull up. So just kind of be mindful of that. All right, now I'm going to take off the excess. See, that's what I mean about cuts. Just kind of go slow. If you did take off extra things, like I said, just kind of be slow with your pulling there. Okay. Measure out how much you need. I will normally drop in the middle opposed to trying to like drop on the side. Be firm. Grab your handy dandy little cup holder. Went ahead and have our lineup grid here. This is sometimes difficult to do with a camera, so bear with me if I get out of focus. I don't mean to. Okay, so just take your time. There's no rush. If you have one of those big squeegees, obviously you can go ahead and use that as well. Like, you know, as per usual, I have no idea where mine is, but just, you don't need one. Just take your time, use your thumb or your fingers, and just lightly press out all of that extra air as you move the vinyl around your cup, and you are going to be just fine. If you need to reposition, that's fine. Just pull up gently and keep going. Now I know I'm getting close to my end here, so I'm going to pull this side up. And there. Now, take your time. Remember, you've got cut pieces here, so you don't want to be like, you know. Yeah, a lot of moving parts. So just kind of take your time and just gently pull this off. Obviously, save this. You can use it for something else. Considering I can't wrap cups for anything, I think I did pretty good. Okay, so let's take a minute and talk about colors. Now, when I look at this, obviously there's black. We have kind of like a cream color here, a gold, dark gray, light gray. These are all colors that we're going to want to concentrate on using, but I also think it's important to have one color that's a little outside of the pattern, so to speak, to keep things a little bit spicy. We don't want it to just be very meh. We want to have some excitement there too. So for gold, I was thinking initially, I was thinking PDB Nude, but I think that might be a little too calm. This is Athena. It's very similar to Cleopatra. This is just a thicker cut. I think this is going to be more along the lines of what I want. Not Athena, but Cleopatra. I just want Cleopatra in a bag. This is the prettiest gray in the whole world. Look at that dark gray. It's gorgeous. This is the Glitter Doctor. This is, what's this? I think it's Galactic Gray. This was the first thing I thought of, so that's a must-have. So I got 4 colors, 2 down, 2 to go. This is Wrangler. I thought about number 1, it's a little too chunky. Number 2, it's not the right hue, so we'll pass on that. I thought about Vanity. Vanity's actually still on the board. It is, where's my thing? It's a real pretty purple, but not like a flaming purple. Something to consider as the surprise color. Well, I guess the rest are just all purples. That sounds about right. This is Vineyard by, I believe, Child & Childs. Really pretty dark purple. I think it's a matte
Yeah, it's a matte, so it's really not gonna, maybe. The color's not bad. It's not as banging as I want though, so we'll put that in the maybe pile. This is completely unexpected and a maybe. This is Feather Bling. Maybe. We'll put that in the maybe pile. This is probably a little too aggressive with the spicy. This color bangs on black, so like black paint, this would absolutely shine like a diamond, but I don't know that it's the right vibe we're going for, so we'll put that back over here. And then I have good old Recollections purple, which actually I really, really like with that. All right, so Vanity, you're out. We are now down to this one and this one. Basically, it's whether you want to go blue tone or red tone. I'm leaning towards this one. All right, let's make a decision. We're going to go with that one. And then I need one more color. All right, to be continued. Okay, so we've got, I forgot that I'm also going to be using black. My plan is to use also a strip of black. So the black, the purple, the gold, then it comes down to the two silvers. Do I use a lighter silver or a darker silver? I'm going to play around with that a little bit, but tentatively, this is our lineup.
Okay, so let's get started with the fun stuff. I did not go in any particular order. I didn't, you know, plot and plan my colors to where I started with the lightest or the darkest or anything like that. I just kind of, you know, picked a section and started with it. Be mindful of your hands and your fingers when you are doing this, though. And I say that meaning as you are laying down paint and adding glitter and you're going around the cup, just make sure that you are mindful of your fingers not, you know, grabbing sections of the cup that you've already painted and glittered. I did not run into this, but it 100% sounds like something I would have done. So just be mindful of where you're placing your hands before you just willy-nilly start grabbing this cup and spinning it around to do what you have to do, especially when you get into, you know, color number, you know, 3 and 4. It's very, you know, it's very cut and dried. I just filled in the areas that needed, you know, the glitter with the paint base and then added my glitter on top of it. You want to use very thin layers of paint, very evenly laid layers of paint. You don't want, you know, big clumps of paint in one section and light in another. You want to make sure that everything is very even so that your glitter lays very even. Now, if you know, do all of this and then you let it dry and you see you have uneven spots or you need to touch anything up, as long as your first coat is dry, just go ahead, add a second thin layer of your paint on top and then add more glitter where you need it, or do the entire stripe so that everything is continuous. I did try as I was going through to obviously keep glitter A from pouring into what has already been added, you know, what was still wet. So just be mindful of that you're not trying to cross-contaminate your colors. You know, this might be something if you're using very opposite colors, maybe you know, lay your color 1 down, you lay your color 3 down, let them dry, come back, and then lay your second color and your 4th color. You know what I mean? So just kind of depending on the colors that you're using and whatnot, just kind of make that assessment. But once you add everything, go ahead and rim out your top, rim out your bottom, add your glitter there as well. Just be very, just take your time with your paintbrush. You know what I mean? You want very clean lines. So take your time. There's no rush. And then, like I said, if you need to add a second coat to any of this, just wait for the first coat to dry and then add your second coat. Okay, so here it is. I went ahead, originally I had the top and the bottom rimmed in the gold glitter. That seemed a little aggressive to me after I let it sit and marinate in my head for a while. So I changed it out to the darker purple because I really like that. I think that looks really good. I also went ahead and ran a first run of epoxy on this last night. As I had said probably in the beginning of the video, you know, we are getting ridiculous monsoon like amounts of rain this week. So I'm kind of hit and miss with the lighting here. I ran it last night. It was really, really dark. I ran this like probably 9, 10 o'clock last night. So I didn't bother to record it because I'm like, it's going to look like trash. Anyway, of course, with it being so dark, what I didn't realize is that this morning when I looked, like some of the purple glitter got all up in the gold. Well, that's not the look we're going for. So I went ahead, grabbed a little bit of Mod Podge, ran a little bit of Mod Podge in that gold section, added a little bit more glitter. These things are amazing. They're like little poofy makeup brushes. You can get them from the dollar store. You can get them on Amazon, like 3 for $4 or something like that. These things are the softest brushes if you've never worked with them, and they are awesome as far as getting rid of the glitter. Now, next to the gold, I have that black strip. I do not care if gold glitter is all up in that black section. Obviously, I, wiped off as much as possible. That black section is... Okay, so this is my little secret trick on black when it comes to things like this. Black glitter, we all know, disappears under epoxy. It just looks like tar. So you have to add like a little sparkle additive to it. And a lot of times I think that we normally add, I know I add like a super microfine silver holographic sparkle glitter to it. The thing is that when you do that, at least with mine, the black never looks, black, it kind of looks more really, really dark gray. So for this, my trick with trying to keep, like, if I want something dramatically black, I don't add glitter at all. I literally just use black paint. And then at the last coat, I always use diamond dust, which is not an opal shimmer. It's just a straight up shimmer. So it doesn't flash any weird colors against blacks or dark colors. And it just makes it look like glitter, if that makes sense. So that's my little trick on that. So I don't care if there's gold glitter or, any kind of going on here in that black section, because once I do this next run of epoxy to where everything is sealed down, I will go back with my black glitter my black paint, or even a black paint pen will work as well, and just literally black that whole entire thing in. So it doesn't really matter if there's anything like, stuck to it, like, there is now. We're going to fix all that. So I've gone ahead, let the Mod Podge, dry and chill. I was going to use the paint again, but then I was like, I don't remember what I did with it. It's sitting in the garage somewhere, and I had the Mod Podge right there, so I just ran with that. I'm going to go ahead and seal this, and then once it's dried, I'm going to go ahead and send it for epoxy, and then, we should be good to go for the rest of things. And so I sent this for another run of epoxy. I didn't really want this to be a horribly heavy coat. I just wanted to basically, seal all that in. I mixed up, I want to say 20 mLs of epoxy, added it obviously with a gloved hand in an even layer, and don't forget to blow out your micro bubbles. Now, since we are getting near the end, I want to go ahead and fill all that black in. I just grabbed a black paint pen and just filled in that entire black stripe, making sure that the entire stripe was evenly covered and that all of the extra gold glitter was obviously covered up. This is just my little, secret hack, so to speak, to make sure that the black stays black and I'm not having to mess with black glitter that isn't 100% black glitter. Okay, so now let's go ahead and lay down our gold stripes. I went ahead and cut the pattern that I originally cut to lay down the vinyl, except I did it in the shiny metallic gold vinyl instead. And what I'm going to do is basically take my craft knife, cut off the tops and the bottoms of where those stripe lines are, and then that's what's going to make the stripes going down and around the cup. I also used my design space, created a very long, thin gold rectangle, multiplied that 2 or 3 times so I had more than what I needed, and cut that, and that is what I'm using to go around the top and the bottom of the cup. Since I had to measure out for my vinyl to begin with, I knew that I needed 9.5 inches for those stripes to make it all the way around the top and the bottom. So that is what I used to cut those. And then, like I said, I basically took my pattern
and then just recut it on the vinyl so I could get those swirl stripes. Just take your time with this. Start at the top, line it up as best as you can, and then just very gently work that stripe going around your cup. You know, press down firmly. If you need to readjust, you know, lightly pull up, readjust, and lay back down again. If you find that you're having a stripe that's giving you a little bit more trouble, you may have to recut it if you've had to reposition it multiple times. But like I said, just kind of take your time. I did have one stripe that I guess I didn't cut in, or I should say I didn't curve in enough at the bottom, and it didn't hit the bottom all the way. So I just cut out a tiny little micro piece of gold, patch that at the very bottom to fill in the negative space there, you know, cut off any extra, and, you know, nobody's going to notice that. But if you do run into that scenario, that's always an option. Again, take your time, just go through very slowly, make sure you're laying your lines down very firm, and then when you're all done, send it for epoxy. At this point, your cup is pretty much done. Add a little bit of diamond dust into your epoxy and go ahead and apply a pretty generous layer to your cup. You want to make sure you're covering all of your stripes and your glitter and everything else. If you're unsure, you can always add a very thin layer of epoxy to make sure that none of your stripes give you any problems like bouncing up or buckling, and then add a heavier coat on a second run, whatever you feel most comfortable with. I was pretty confident that I wasn't going to have too much of a problem, but if there ever was a cup that was going to give me that problem, this would be it. Anyway, I mixed up 20 mLs of epoxy, went ahead and added it with a gloved hand, and then obviously blew out my micro bubbles. Take your time with this. Have fun with it. If you need a second coat of epoxy, go for it. But like I said, this is a really easy cup and a lot of fun to do.
Hey guys, what's up? Oh my word. Oh my word. Can we just be like, ah? Absolutely loved how this came out. I was not joking in the intro when I said that I thought this was going to be extremely complicated, lots of moving parts. We know how I get sometimes. I start going in this direction. I need to go in that direction. I honestly thought this was going to be very complicated. And I was like beyond surprised, and very happily so, that this is actually a really easy design to do. I have, and I'm sure we all have, we've seen all of these, you know, cups. The basket weave cup. Don't ask me to do that one, okay? But the basket weave cup, I think we've all seen, where it's literally hatch, 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 hatch. Like, I was just like absolutely intimidated by the idea of doing this, but I thought it was so cool, and I've been wanting to do one for so long that I really am glad that I just kind of, you know, bit the bullet and got all up in it anyway. Let's talk about a couple of things. I am so sad about the printable vinyl situation. You know, it's one of those things where you're like, everybody uses regular vinyl. Why don't you just use printable vinyl? Well, there's a reason for that. There's a big flaming reason for that. I was so sad. We were going to do magical things with that design, with that pattern. It was so pretty with the blacks and the pinks and the oranges. We were going to do magical things. No, we weren't. We're definitely going to be using that design for something else though, because it is. That design is sick. But yeah, definitely, I knew within like the first 20 nanoseconds that my original plan of using the printable vinyl was not going to work, and it did not. But sometimes you still have to give it a try. So, okay, yes, printable vinyl, not the way to go with these. Definitely want to use just an actual vinyl. Although I will say this, and I could be speaking out of turn on this one, and I might be wrong, but I don't think I'm wrong. But I might be wrong. It's pretty personal where I get so many of my glitters. I believe now she also offers an option where I think you can send in a file and she will print it on vinyl for you. Obviously you're paying for that. I think that's a thing. So, in all honesty, like if that is that pattern that I loved, I could actually send that into her and actually have it printed out on real vinyl, and then we could do things with that. I could be wrong. I'm not 100% positive, but I seem to remember that possibly being a thing. So let's walk through a couple things other than the printable vinyl, you know, disaster on that one. This is just something that just take your time with. I think I very well may have accidentally edited it out. If I did, let's start at the beginning. I basically took a straight edge, you know, because we're fancy here. So I had like a binder and I stood it up. But take a straight edge, mark, you know, 2 points of straightness, if you will. And that's how you're going to line up your vinyl. The pattern that I decided to use for that swirl had a little bit too much ass going on. It had a little too many swirls. So in my design space, I just used the eraser, you know, option, icon, whatever. I took off 2 of those points so that I didn't have those last, you know, couple of swirls out. Just be mindful when you do go ahead and start laying down your vinyl. Before you do that, make sure that you take your craft knife and make sure that all of your lines are continuous. I know with me, I mean, you can have where you do use the eraser method, or, you know, use the little eraser tool and it will fill in the line for you, or it won't. I normally have it so it won't. But that's something to, you know, look into for your design space. It may be something that you want to have, you know, implemented. Myself, I know that a lot of times my eraser marks are not, you know, 100% on point. So having the fill-in tool activated would leave me with like a very kind of a line going sideways and whatnot. I'm not trying to go through all those extra steps. So I leave it to where it does not fill in that negative space after it erases something. Again, you do you on that one. I went ahead and, like I said, you want to start with a line, with a straight, you know, a straight line point on your tumbler. I did not spray paint this because I knew that I was working in silvers and grays. I honestly did not know what colors I was going to choose to do the glitter swirls. I didn't want to use white on the cup if I was going to be doing a lot of dark colors. I kind of want to just leave everything open, you know, in respect to that. You can choose to do something different. If you want to spray paint the entire cup, go for it. I did not want to run into the drama of spray painting the cup, starting to lay my vinyl down. I know there's things I'm awesome at. I know there's things I am not awesome at. Laying a straight vinyl line, you know, laying vinyl straight on a cup and rolling it, it's never a good thing for me to do. So spray painting it, not epoxying it yet, just, you know, naked spray paint. I lay my vinyl down, it's not right, I pull it up, I pull spray paint with it. Now there's, you know, now there's going to be spots, how do I say this? Even though it's spray paint, it's a micro layer of spray paint. If it sticks to the back of your vinyl, you're still running into the possibility of that showing, okay? Not probably on a vinyl like this because it's dark and patterned, but you know, if you're repositioning, now you've got a spot that doesn't have spray paint. You know what I mean? Like, it's just drama. I also, again, knowing that I am crappy at rolling vinyl on cups perfectly, did not want to spray paint and epoxy this cup prior because I don't want there to be any, I don't want there to be any possibility of anything going wrong. And even with a thin layer of epoxy, I know that my turners a lot of times dip down or dip up. I'm not trying to have any part of this cup not be 100% even. You know what I mean? Like, I was just hedging my bets on that one. So definitely you do you on that one. If you are a rolling queen, you know, you do whatever it is you normally do. Myself, I needed this to be as naked and as easy as possible. And that's exactly how we did that. Next, colors. Okay, so I really stand by my little statement that I need things spicy. I love this purple. I love that purple in there. You know, when I first started picking out colors and I was looking at this, I was thinking very, you know, I was like, gold, black, gray. I need something a little more exciting than that. And I'm really, really happy with this purple. It's not a flaming purple. It's not a bright traditional purple. It's like a bluey purple. And it just really works well against those, you know, kind of like bluey purple muted flowers. So I'm really happy with those, with that choice there. I feel like, you know, could this have gone different and that we could have done a lot of really bright colors to go with this? Yeah, possibly. But I just feel like the mood of this, you know, that vinyl, like you really kind of had to choose your colors wisely. And initially that gold right there, which is not Cleopatra, it's actually, I think I think it might even be a Recollections gold. I've got to go back and double check it. I actually had the gold coming all around the top and the bottom. And for a minute, I liked that. And then I was like, yeah, but you're going to line it all in gold too. And I feel like now we're getting into way too much of a gold situation. So I am glad that I flipped that back, you know, flip that out to the purple. I did not, did I? No, I didn't video that part and I apologize. I basically just, you know, same thing that I did for the lines. I took purple paint, rimmed it all around, you know, glittered it, let it dry, brushed it off, moved on. Now, to do the paint, I mean, to stick your glitter to this, I used paints. That's not my normal method of doing something like this. You know, like say for geodes, I just use Mod Podge. You know what I mean? Like I don't have any problem with that whatsoever. But I also didn't know, because again, we were using some darker colors. I know with dark colors in Mod Podge, a lot of times you got to go back over a second run. And I was like, do I want to do all that? Nah, not so much. So I chose to use just the regular colored paint. Does it stick 100% or is it 100%, you know, what I would recommend? You know what? It does an okay job. When it comes to darker colors, or the one color I had the most problem with was the gold, surprisingly, but that gold paint didn't really, you know, lend a lot of gold background. So that could also be why, too. But, you know, that was the only one. If you do run into a scenario where like you add your glitter, it's 100% dry, you brush it off, you see it's got spots, you see that it looks uneven, or it needs another run, as long as your base there is already dry, just lightly apply another run of your paint or Mod Podge or whatever you choose to use. And then just make sure it's very thin. You're using a very thin layer and then it's even. And then just go ahead and add more glitter and then, you know, obviously let that dry and you're good to go. I did not seal this glitter other than brushing off all the excess glitter and hitting the entire cup with spray sealer. I have here, you know, there's certain colors that I feel are more problematic than not. My favorite teal color, I love it. I don't care what I do. That teal sticks around forever, okay? I can sit there and do a 6-color beach tumbler, spray seal it, and the glitter never moves and never goes anywhere it doesn't need to go. That one particular teal, I don't care what the heck I do. It comes out of the woodwork. It comes out from below. It comes out from above. It comes from inside the cup. It always appears somewhere. And I feel like my purple was kind of that way too. I can see a couple little spots here where the purple got on the skull. I'm not worried about that. If it was an issue, then I would have stopped and, you know, sanded that off, you know, before moving forward. If this was a cup I was doing for a customer, obviously you have to take a lot more care. So just be mindful of that. If you wanted to seal down these stripes better in a more concrete way before moving forward, you could definitely wait for this to dry and then hit those stripes with Mod Podge, you know, a thin layer of Mod Podge, and then that would seal that in before sending it to epoxy. Honestly, my stripes were not the problem. I know they weren't. It was the rim, because obviously you're glittering the rim and then you're, you know, blowing it all off. Glitter gets inside, and don't think for 1 second that when you put your insert in there and your glitter, somehow it all comes back. Somehow it comes back up out of the cup, or it's right there on that very edge. I don't know. But if you are going to go ahead and be concerned about that, definitely take your Mod Podge and also, you know, seal your top and bottom if you are using that to seal your stripes. What I did for the gold lines, I basically took my pattern that I had cut out to do this, and I just recut it using, you know, using it on the gold vinyl, on the gold metallic vinyl. And then you saw I took my craft knife and I just kind of cut the tops and bottom, peeled those stripes up, and that's what I used to make these stripes. There was one, I think there was one that for whatever reason, my stripe didn't come all the way. It was like, is that short? I just cut off a tiny little piece of vinyl, like that would be the same size, and literally just patched that bottom. It was honestly this big, so I wasn't worried about it. If it was anything more than that, I would have recut the stripe and just kind of made sure it stretched out a little bit different. I think it was one of those things where it was going around the curve and maybe I just didn't curve in enough to hit that bottom mark. But again, I wasn't really so overly worried about something like that. And to do the stripes on the top and the bottom, I did the same thing that I do for my other striped tumblers. I went ahead and I have the little tool in my design space where you can kind of like draw a rectangle. I just drew a very thin rectangle, ran it down. I knew that I needed 9.5 inches to go around the cup. The cup itself is 8 inches, 9.5 to go around. And so I just drew out a very thin rectangle, 9.5, well, a little more than 9.5 inches, you know, made a couple so that if I messed, you know, if I messed anything up, I had a couple extras. And then that's how I cut the top and the bottom. So beyond proud of myself as far as wrapping the tumbler. I'm horrible at that. Take your time, go slow. Just make sure as you're going through, you're pushing out all that extra air as you're going. That's going to keep you so you don't have bubbles. If you have one of those large squeegees, definitely advise you to use that as well. I do have 1 or 2 of them. I don't use them often enough to where I feel like I do a really great job with them for some reason. And let's be honest, I never know where half my stuff is, so it's around here somewhere. I don't know where. It's around here somewhere. But again, if you don't have one, just take your time and just as you're going, making sure, you know, you're pressing out all that extra air as you are laying down that vinyl, and that's going to help you obviously not have bubbles. Now, when you lay down your gold stripes, okay, your metallic stripes here, if you run this under epoxy, if you run this for epoxy and one of those pops up, make sure you're obviously pressing them down very firmly before you send it for epoxy. But if you're like me, something always seems to pop up. And I will be honest, I was really surprised it didn't do it on this one. But if it did, to fix that, what I normally do, like I said, for something like this, I would lay down the stripes, you know, press them down very firmly, send it for a very thin layer of epoxy to seal those in. I say that because as somebody who is very heavy-handed with their epoxy, if you are laying something that you know has the potential of being problematic, and in this case for me, this would be the cup, because it always seems to be little micro stripes of, you know, vinyl, especially metallic vinyl, always seem to pop up somewhere, buckle, you know what I mean? If there's ever going to be a scenario where there could probably be a problem with the stripes, this is going to be it for me personally. So what I did was add a very thin layer of epoxy, knowing that if something buckled or something didn't lay down or something wanted to ripple or something wanted to, you know, bounce up on the very edge or whatever, that I would be able to fix it easier than if I added a very thick layer of epoxy to where now I've got more to fight through. Myself, if this had a problem, if this wanted to give me an attitude and wanted to the edges bounce up or something buckle, how I would have fixed that is I would have taken my torch, I would have heated up that whole line that's being, you know, problematic. I would have then take my craft knife, you know, bipped up the end there, pulled that entire strip off, wait for the epoxy to come back to room temperature. You know what I mean? Like you've just heated it up. Don't go sanding anything on it at that point. But once you pull that strip up, give it a little while, let everything even out, let the temperature come all, you know, back to normal and that. Sanded it smooth, okay? Sanded it smooth, blew out any of that extra, you know, sanding dust, sent it for another micro thin layer of epoxy to fill in what you just took out, and then laid that stripe down again. if you're using very thin layers of epoxy and you're working those steps, you are probably never going to notice that one stripe has just that much higher than the rest of them. And certainly nobody else would. I feel like one thing that we all kind of run into, especially if we're very critical of ourselves, and I feel like that's what makes our work really great, is that a lot of times we are overly critical of ourselves. The thing is, number one, I feel like we notice things that nobody else is going to notice. Like 99.99% of the population is never going to notice the things that we notice, because we have to notice those things, okay? So I feel like a lot of times we worry about, oh my God, somebody's gonna see XYZ and they're gonna have a problem with it, when John Q. Public doesn't even know XYZ is a thing. So just, be mindful of that. A lot of times the things that we worry about aren't something that anybody else is ever going to worry about. So just, fix what you have to fix, make it as easy and as seamless as possible, and move on. Don't worry about it. And let's talk real quick about that little black stripe there, okay? Black, my secret, my little secret when it comes to keeping things black under epoxy is not to actually add black glitter. There are times, obviously, when you do, that you want to, but for me, if I want something to be an absolute midnight black, I just simply add, do that area either with a black paint pen or a black craft paint, make sure that it's solid and filled in, and then whenever I add, that last coat, I always add diamond dust, and you will see that black is super sparkly. The thing with black glitter is you have to add an additive for that sparkle, because it'll disappear under epoxy. Black just completely tones out and goes flat under epoxy. So you have to add something. And what I normally add is, Recollections sells this gallon thing of glitter for like $10. And it's like a fine holographic silver glitter, like an ultra fine glitter. And I just add a little bit of that into my black glitters, and that way it gives it a little bit of sparkle under epoxy. But at the same time, it kind of takes away from the black, because you're having to add silver to black. So now it's no longer midnight black. Now it's black and silver, which makes it not black. So if I want something that is honestly going to be as black as possible, I just don't even add the glitter. I just, like I said, use a paint pen or craft paint, make sure that area is 100% filled in, and then add the diamond dust at the end. The diamond dust gets added pretty much on every single cup I do, unless it's like a men's cup or somebody asks for no sparkle. It is not an opal additive. Opal will flash browns, greens, weird colors against blacks and dark blues and dark colors. So it's not an opal additive, it's just a sparkle additive, and it's just perfect in every way. So that's how I get around the black stripe, situation there, so that my black stays black. This was absolutely a super fun cup to do and not at all intimidating. And if you have not done one yet, go try one. They're just fun. It's just fun. It's just really an easy, impressive cup to do, and I definitely hope that you guys give it a try. That's pretty much all I have to say about this cup. Definitely give it a go. Tag me. I have had people tag me in their videos on TikTok, and I was like, yes, I love seeing what you're doing. I love seeing what you're making. So definitely tag me if you, decide to give this a shot, or, anything of any of the tutorials that you've watched of mine. I absolutely love to see what you guys are making. So it makes my little black heart go pitter patter when you do that. I pretty much wraps everything up. I hope you had fun. I hope you learned something. Thanks for hanging out with me this week. I love you guys. I'll see you next time. Bye.